Welcome to From Center Ice. My name is Courtney, and the end is near. We've made it! We are in the final month of the 2020-2021 Chicago Blackhawks season. Well, really, we're in the last week. By this time, next week, the Hawks will be getting ready to play their final game of the season against Dallas. Once you watch this, it may be a week from then that the season's already done. Who knows? At the time that I am recording this, the Blackhawks are still not officially eliminated from the playoffs, but we all know that they're not going to make it. It would take them winning the rest of their games and Dallas and Nashville losing the rest of their games in order for this to happen, and I just don't see that. So let's take a look at where they are right now. Through 51 games this season, they have a record of 22, 23, and 6. That is good for 50 points in the standings. They are currently 8 back from Nashville. And basically, if Nashville wins tonight, the Hawks are eliminated. Their home record is 12, 11, and 3. Their away record is 10, 12, and 3. And before this Monday night game against the Carolina Hurricanes, their goal differential is -21. There were a few weeks there in the season where they had an even goal differential, or they even had a positive one. We can see that that clearly went very downhill starting in the month of March. That was just absolutely hellacious for the Chicago Blackhawks, and now they sit at a -21. We shall see what that ends up at after next Monday's game against Dallas. They've only got 5 games left, so if you are enjoying this season, hold on to those as much as you can. They are going to be gone very quickly. They have 3 against the Carolina Hurricanes. They play back-to-back tonight and tomorrow, and then they play again on Thursday. They've got Friday and Saturday off, and then they have a back-to-back with the Dallas Stars on Sunday and Monday, because NHL scheduling, that's just how it goes. I don't understand it. That's one thing about hockey that I will never understand, is how the NHL chooses their schedule. Many times they'll have all of their games for the evening starting at the exact same time. And then maybe there's one on the West Coast that starts later. I don't know. They don't want people watching their product. That's all I can come up with. Anywho, that's been the Blackhawks schedule so far, and that's the schedule that they have upcoming. There's a very real possibility that they could lose the rest of their games, so just don't be super surprised if that happens. I'm sure they'll probably walk away with at least 1 or 2 wins in the last 5, but I won't hold my breath too much. I have chosen some things that I'm going to be watching for in these last 5 games, but we'll get to that later in the video. For now, let's look at some of the players and the stats that they've gotten so far, and let's start with the goaltenders. We've got Kevin Lankinen and Malcolm Subban. Colin Delia's only played 2 games, and those were 2 in the beginning of the season when the team was very bad and allowing 5 goals a game, so we'll just leave those in the corner over there and only focus on Subban and Lankinen. First up is Kevin. He's played 36 games and he has a record of 16, 14, and 5. He's got a 3.04 goals against average and a 908 save percentage. Next up, Malcolm Subban. In 15 games played, he's got a record of 6, 7, and 1. He's got a 3.03 goals against average and a 905 save percentage. And they both have 2 shutouts on the season. So while Lankinen has played significantly more games than Subban has, their stats are pretty similar. I thought that was rather interesting when I looked that up. Of course, both of them have played completely out of their mind at different stretches during the season. As of late, we've seen more human-like games from them. You cannot expect your goaltender to be at God tier all season, but that's what this Blackhawks team was going to need in order to secure their spot in the playoffs, apparently. But the goaltending this season has been sort of a surprise. We went into this season expecting the net to be a toss-up between Subban and Colin Delia. In comes Kevin Lankinen, he just takes over and runs with the starting job, and that leaves Malcolm Subban as the backup, and Colin Delia missing. According to Jeremy Colleton, he will get a start down the stretch here in these last 5 meaningless games, so we'll see how that goes for him and what they plan on doing with him in the offseason and next season if they do keep him around in the organization. It'd be cool to see him back in Rockford. I don't know if he would enjoy that or if he will be out looking for a different NHL job, but it would be nice to see him back on the Ice Hogs if that's how it works out. Now let's scoot on over to the skaters, and I will give you the top 5 point leaders on the 2020-2021 Chicago Blackhawks roster. as of Monday, May 3rd, before the game against Carolina. Number 1, we have Patrick Kane, to the surprise of nobody. I mean, with the way he's been playing lately, it's kind of a surprise, but he's Patrick Kane. Of course, he was going to be number 1. In 51 games, he has 15 goals and 47 assists. That is good for 62 points. In slot number 2, we have Alex Debrincat. In 47 games played, he has 25 goals and 23 assists. That is good for 48 points. Coming in third is Dominik Kubalik. In 51 games played, he has 17 goals and 16 assists for 33 points. Number 4, we have a rookie, and that rookie would be Pius Suter. In 50 games played, he has 13 goals and 10 assists for 23 points. Not too shabby, not too shabby. And number 5, Brandon Hagel. That is correct. Brandon freaking Hagel is 5th on the Chicago Blackhawks in scoring. In 47 games, he has 8 goals, 2 of those being very important overtime winners. And he has also added 14 assists, which gives him 22 points on the season. If you've been following along with the Blackhawks, if you've been following along these videos, you know that his season started slow points-wise, but once he started racking them up, they just kept coming for him. Clearly, he's 5th on the team in scoring. I love being right. So there's your top 5, but I also have to give an honorable mention to number 6 and number 7 on the list of point leaders. We have 2 more young guys. Number 6 is Adam Beauquist. In 35 games played, significantly less than any of the other players I just mentioned. He's got 2 goals and 14 assists for 16 points. Of course, now he's done for the season with a broken wrist, so that is how his stat line will end for the season. But it's nice to see him up there in 6th because we need the young guys to be producing, and producing they are. In the 7th slot, we have another rookie. That rookie being Philipp Kurashev. In 49 games played, he has 8 goals and 7 assists for 15 points. Not too shabby. Not too shabby. After him, there's a long string of vets, so I won't be naming all of those, but it's nice to see a lot of the young guys up there in the top 7. Aside from Patrick Kane and Alex DeBrincat, who is still a pretty young guy himself, you have Kubalik, Suter, Hegel, Boqvist, and Kurashev. As rough as this season has been to get through and as frustrating as it's been at times, you have to be happy with seeing that. The future could be bright for the Chicago Blackhawks. That all depends on what moves they make in the offseason, and not just this offseason, but the ones following this one. We just never know. I've also got to mention Kirby Dock because he's basically the best young guy that we have, or the most hyped young guy, being the 3rd overall pick in his draft year. In 17 games played since coming back from that broken wrist, he's got 2 goals and 8 assists for 10 points. After basically not playing hockey for a whole year, I mean, he broke the wrist in a pre-tournament game with Team Canada, and then jumping into a Blackhawks team that was very discombobulated and getting a large role right off the jump, I'd say 10 points in 17 games is pretty good for the kid. It takes a while to get up to game speed. He didn't have a training camp. I've read a lot of people being concerned about his production, but that's still 10 points in 17 games. That's over half a point a game. I'll take it. So we all know what guys I've been impressed with and not so impressed with as the season has gone along. Obviously, there's Brandon Hagel, big fan of the guy. DeBrincat's having a good year, obviously. Kubalik is having a very quiet good year. And the rookie defensemen have been really fun to watch, be that Ian Mitchell, Nicholas Beaudin, Wyatt Kalnick. It's been very interesting to see them make their way into the NHL, some of them getting more experience in the NHL, be it Boqvist or Beaudin. And that's something I've just had to keep reminding myself as the season has gone along, because it's been so frustrating to watch and just been so bleh, just gross. A gross season for many different reasons, not all having to do with the play on the ice. The Blackhawks rookies and their young players are doing very well. We always want to see more. We always want to see guys lighting the world on fire, but when you look at their season as a whole, a lot of them have come up with very solid bodies of work. So now that the Hawks are basically eliminated from the playoffs, it'll happen tonight or tomorrow probably, we can take these last 5 games to really pay attention to things other than the score score and other than the outcome of the game. Sure, maybe we've been doing that all along, all throughout the season, but when there's still a chance for them to be in the playoffs, solidly in a playoff spot, you just really want the wins, and that starts taking over what your main focus is. So going along with the theme of threes in these videos I've recorded, here's the 3 things I'm looking for in these final 5 games. Number 1 is the compete level. With the season basically being over, they know that they're not playing for a playoff spot. They know they're not playing for a good matchup in the playoffs. It'll be interesting to see what kind of compete level they come out with, whether it just kind of dies off because the season is over, or if they want to make a good impression going into next season, going into the off season for guys who are looking for contracts, maybe guys who are bubble players who could be traded away or move down to Rockford when the next season comes around, anything of this sort. It'll be very interesting to see how individual guys and the team as a whole plays to finish out the year. I suspect that we'll get some solid showings from the young guys. They do still want to make a good impression. They want to stay in the NHL. They want to be around next year. I would assume that they come out, they play their hardest. There's only 5 games left. They can take the long off season to rest. But we'll just have to see what exactly that looks like, because when it comes to the team game, the veteran players also have to chip in and help these guys out because it is a team game. So we'll see. Going along those lines, the second thing that I'm looking for is which of those young guys stand out, especially if they are given bigger roles in these final games. Again, they're not playing for anything. The coaches can take this time to really evaluate what they have. Of course, they've been doing that all throughout the year, but now they can throw these guys out there with bigger roles because they're not trying to necessarily win the games. So if the coaching staff does indeed elect to do that, it'll be interesting to see which of these guys can handle taking on a bigger role and excel in it and maybe make good things happen on the ice. Maybe lead to a win or two. That would be nice. That'd be fun. I like fun. These last couple of months of Blackhawks hockey have not been very fun. And the third thing comes back around to special teams. The power play started at the top of the league when the season kicked off, and it has plummeted. They have been very bad on the power play lately. It's basically like pulling teeth to get them to convert with a power play goal. And there's been a few too many times where they've given up either a fantastic shorthanded chance, a shorthanded goal, or a goal to the guy just coming out of the penalty box. That is always a massive headache. But then you have the penalty kill, who started out not super great, and they've been on the rise. They have been fairly effective lately, which is just so confusing because you watch this team 5-on-5 and the defense is a mess, yet somehow when they get on the penalty kill, they've been fairly effective. Riddle me that one. Sure, it's only 2-ish minute chunks compared to the rest of the game, but still. But what I would really like to know is which players from this team have stood out to you, which ones have you really liked, which ones have you maybe not liked so much, and what are you looking for in this final week of Blackhawks hockey that we have? I'm very curious. Please leave those in the comments down below. If you would like to hear more from me or from Center Ice, you can head on over to FromCenterIce.com. You'll find links to all of the places where you can find us. If you're not subscribed to this channel, go ahead and do that. Give the video a like if you're feeling super generous. We are recording another podcast episode on Thursday, so you can keep your eye out for that. And if you'd like to give us a follow on social media and keep up with all the day-to-day hot takes that I have, especially on Twitter, you can find the links to all of those profiles down in the description. All of that being said, thank you very much for watching. Thank you for watching all throughout this crazy season that we've had. It'll be interesting to look back on it once it is finally over and see what the positives really were. It's hard to see those day to day as you go along, especially with some of the more frustrating parts of the season, but we will just have to see. But again, thank you so much for being on this ride with me, and I'll catch you after this one. Bye, guys. Thank you all for watching. Please hit that subscribe button to catch more From Center Ice content. If you could, hit the like button on this video, maybe share it with a friend or two. And while you're here, check out the podcast playlist and catch up on some old episodes. We will catch y'all next time. Bye!